Hey, it's hey, it's Mazzy, and welcome back to the channel. Buckingham Nicks. What the fuck took so long? Rhino Hi-Fi. Okay, this is the numbered edition Rhino Hi-Fi. Numbers don't matter, but I ordered my copy the day it was announced because I'm a big fan of this record. Here is my original Polydor record, Buckingham Nicks. You've seen it everywhere. It's everywhere. There's this new Kevin Gray cut, which is a Rhino High Fidelity record, which limited to 5,000. Limited numbered 5,000. Now, get that in your thick fucking skull. 5,000 numbered editions, and then more unnumbered editions. That's how it works with limited, not just with Rhino. That's the way it works, okay? So just chill. There's also a Chris Bellman cut, excuse me, with various colors that I believe that's analog as well. And it's like the battle of the mastering engineers. Now, I'm not getting a copy of the Chris Bellman. I don't need another copy, but I do have the original copy here. And I did do a little comparison, or a big comparison. I played these records. I adore this record. The history, if you recall, they were living in the Bay Area, Atherton area, south of San Francisco. And they went down to LA, and they basically slept for a year on Keith Olsen's house, in his house, and for free. That's what it says in the liner notes by David Frick, that former Rolling Stone columnist who seems to do a lot of liner notes and records. He's a great writer. So they get into the history of the record and that whole thing, and of course the history how Mick Fleetwood happened to be touring studios for what would be the next Fleetwood Mac album, and he goes to Sound City, and Keith Olsen plays him some music, and he heard some tracks from this album, especially the song Crystal. Now, if you haven't heard this record, you've heard Fleetwood Mac, the 1975 album. Basically, it's this without that rhythm section of Mick Fleetwood and John McVie. But this is no slouch in terms of the rhythm section. And you have Waddy Wachtel, also a supplemental guitar player who, of course, worked with Warren Zevon and Linda Ronstadt. It's a great LA session musician and touring musician. But you also have a pair of bass players, and I haven't been able to figure out which bass player's on what track. There's some great bass on this. And I'll talk about a little bit of a comparison. They're not that different, but Keith Olsen is the one that got this great sound at Sound City Recorders. I mean, obviously one of the famous studios in the Valley, and of course that Fleetwood Mac record, 1975, with them. Now, if you know that record, you know Fleetwood Mac. This sounds like that version of Fleetwood Mac because they're, aside from Chris McVie, these are the vocalists, the great harmonies, and this great couple. I love their harmonies, and I've been a fan of Lindsey Buckingham's guitar playing, almost that quick double picking thing. And I tell you, I listened to my original again, which I haven't in the last few months, obviously, since this has been announced. This is a very dynamic, really wonderful recording, a very acoustic at the get-go here. His guitar playing is very acoustic, and it doesn't really get heavy electric until the very end on that final cut on here. What is that called? The cut that kind of builds and builds and builds, and that's Frozen Love. But of course, the song Crystal, the Stevie Nicks song, is the song that I believe Mick Fleetwood heard and just kind of fell in love with, and obviously invited first Lindsey, and then he said, no, you have to take both of us. And it worked out, obviously. Like, it was a good choice all around for everybody. But the harmonies these two have, I mean, you can't deny it. Now, I'm a fan of that Fleetwood Mac. Obviously, I like the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac. That is my, the stuff. Then Play On, especially. That, 1970 record. But I do like the more West Coast pop Fleetwood Mac sound as well. The problem I had was I heard it too fucking much in 1975, 6, 7, 8. Every store I worked in, well, the store I worked in during those years, you heard it all the time. It was one of those records like Frampton Comes Alive and what's the other big one? Hotel California. You could not get away from those records. It took me 30 years to listen to them again. But I got this album back then, and we kind of brought it back out in the store. There were cutouts of it, and we started ordering it again. And whenever we played it, people thought it was a new Fleetwood Mac by the time they knew this Fleetwood Mac. And it's a beautiful, beautiful record. So let's talk about this. Now, for the last several weeks, I've been auditioning a pair of used Spender D7.2 speakers after testing out the smaller A7s, and I'm in love with them. But I haven't really made the change totally. I still have my BMWs, the 702 S2s that are brighter speaker. So I am judging these records on the Spenders, which are a warmer speaker. I think they're better mid-tone and bass. Even though I like those BMWs. But for my room, which tends to be bright anyway, this is the standard. This is the sound I'm listening to compare these records. So apples to oranges, oranges to apples, it doesn't matter. These are both being listened to on the Spenders. That's it, not the BMWs. And there's a warmth. My Polydor, my original copy, sounds great. It's quiet, a little bit of noise from those 70s pressings of Polydor records. Not super quiet, but very dynamic. I'm surprised there's that bass. They have that bass that's different than what John McVie would do later, obviously, with Fleetwood Mac, but it seems to be kind of a long, especially on the opening track. That opening track, which is Don't Let Me Down Again, the Buckingham song, has this kind of bass thing that's so just there, and you feel it and you hear it, and it's a wonderful sound on this record. And it's somewhat of a narrow stereo sound on this record, but it's beautiful. I like this. This whole record has a natural sound. I could go through track by track, but I'm not going to. I'll talk about more of some of the songs when I bring out the Rhino Hi-Fi. But if you have this record, I guess the question is, do you need the other one? You don't need it. They're very close, but they are different. Now, let me switch a little bit. Okay, so here's the record. Let's look at this. I was surprised when I first got it, the tonality of the cover. Now, this looks a little more contrasty. This is the first press, I believe. Very black and white. There's a tint to this. I kept the record out here. There's a tint to this. Almost, you can't really see it on this camera. It's almost like a greenish, bluish tint a little bit. You can see it's brighter. It's more open. So they did a nice job with it. It is different, but they did a nice job with it. And I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, this is a solarized image. Again, the original is very contrasty, very dark. This is lighter. So that's kind of psychedelic solarization, probably with transparency film, or it could be a black and white solarized print, maybe, that's been toned in post-production or when they printed it. I don't know that answer. Beautiful gatefold. They recreate the gatefold with the lyrics. Exactly the same. I mean, this is one of those situations where the added gatefold duplicates the original copy. Obviously, you get that glossy cover, that premium cover that they do on these. But my copy came fine, came in the mail fine, packed fine. You want to know that stuff. Now, in the case of the Rhino High Fidelity, the same labels they've been using since the inception, their custom label. And in this case, you have your Obi that states this is 180 grams, cut from original analog master tapes by Kevin Gray at Coherent. Gatefold jacket, includes liner notes by David Frick. Limited numbered edition to 5,000. So you can get other editions that are not numbered. And then you can get the regular editions, which is even cheaper. These run about $40, and I think maybe $10 less for the Chris Bellman. Again, I'm not checking that out. I'm not reviewing that. I'm not buying that. I do like that they always have the tape box, photographs, and the essay inside. It tells the entire history that I just sort of briefly told you about Mick Fleetwood hearing this. Talks about Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks coming from the Bay Area, I believe from, she was born in Phoenix, but she went to the Bay Area and they met up, I guess in high school or something. I used to know all this stuff, but it doesn't really matter. Now, I like this record. It is a very acoustic, beautiful recording and great harmony. It's a cliche of a 70s record, but it's a stunningly beautiful 70s record. And obviously, from hindsight, foresight, hindsight, we know now what this became. This was the bedrock. If it wasn't for this record and Keith Olsen producing this record, Fleetwood Mac would not have that 70s on. Remember, Bob Welch leaves the band in 74. They would have got someone else. Mick Fleetwood was looking to recruit a new guitarist and a new singer, but he got two. So I like the band. I like that 75 self-titled album is my favorite. Between that and Rumors, I know how big Rumors is. This doesn't have those big, solid hooks like Rumors. It's a more laid-back affair for the most part, but there's some beautiful, obviously, guitar work. Now, here's the difference I noticed right away. First of all, the bass thing is slightly beefier, but the tonality was really wonderful. It wasn't boomy at all. It had a nice plane to it, nice even keel to it. Same with the mid-ranges. It's not overly bright at all, but the guitar playing, Lindsay's acoustic guitar playing is extremely crisp and beautiful. But the main difference I noticed, and I played this one probably 3 times, and I would play selected tracks. After listening to the original all the way through, I would play selected tracks. There's a much wider soundscape, at least it's the illusion of a much wider soundscape on the Rhino Hi-Fi, which I actually really like. Now, it's a choice of maybe taste. I think this was a slightly fuller sound. In terms of the pressing, perfect pressing, totally quiet, quieter than the Polydor, obviously because of the times they were pressed, new mastering, everything you would expect on a new, quote, audiophile record. But again, the wide stereo in this, not in terms of left-right panning, none of that psychedelic stuff where things are going and you have everything left. It's mixed well. You know how sometimes a really well mastered mixed mono record can give you that sort of illusion of a wide soundscape, you know, if it's done well? This reminds me of that. And the Rhino Hi-Fi has more of it. It was apparent right from the beginning, right from the original track. There's a couple of instrumentals, great guitar instrumentals on here. And one of my favorite is the shortest track on here. And I'd forgotten the name of the track, but as soon as I saw the name on side 2 of track 2, it was obvious. It's called Django, and it's obviously an homage to Django Reinhardt. And it's a beautiful sort of gypsy-like, almost Spanish classical. I know he's not Django's not a Spanish classical guitar player, Django Reinhardt, but it's really beautiful. In the end, this string section comes up, a little gypsy-like aura to it, and it's just a really lovely track. But the harmonies these two have together, you can't deny what a team they were in this album. But why did it take fucking 50 years? Is it because we're at the anniversary of them joining and changing Fleetwood Mac forever? Is that why? Are they finally, you know, as they age, as they're older, feel it's time? Why did this take so long? Never on CD, never on vinyl as a reissue after what, maybe the late 70s, early 80s at the most. All the CDs that came out prior to this were gray market CDs that came around. So if you have one that you've had for years, it's not real. You might enjoy it. You can still enjoy the music. I get that. I totally get that. I believe there's a CD version of this. I don't have it. I'm considering it. I don't know if I need it, how much I'll listen to it. But this is an excellent job. Again, it is slightly different than the original, but it's not so different like some of the other Rhino Hi-Fis or some audiophiles compared to original anyway. The original is really dynamic and really beautiful, and that, again, that acoustic guitar and the vocals, no sibilance, just really great harmonies and a wonderful collaboration. So nice job, Kevin. Someone tell me how Chris Bell's version is. I'd like to hear it, but I'm not going to buy it. But it'd be interesting. It's not quite as premium as the Rhino Hi-Fi. So that's it. Buckingham Nicks, 50 years, 50 plus years. What year did this come out? 74, I guess. I think. I don't even remember. Anyway, thanks for watching. Mazzy loves you.